think there's really three reasons why we've decided not to add that into our functionality today. The first is with the physicians that we're working with today, we want to support the existing workflow. The pain of change is real. The number of technology companies that come out and ask you, okay, switch this out for that, or switch this out for that. The switching cost is really high. And to be able to go into a practice and say, keep using the Scribe tool that you're using, or your EMR has it, great, keep using all of that. We'll just help structure your data and land it where it needs to go. And keep using that tool, and we're okay with that. And so that's really the first one. The second is that it's a little bit of a race to the bottom. The value add, the longer you use the tool, the less value that it's adding to your practice, because it's becoming, you've got so many competitors in the space, you have so many people in that space, that it's all about how quickly can we get you the same product at a lower price point. You keep going lower, you keep going lower, and keep going lower, which just means you're not having the money to be able to invest into your product to make it a better product. So we see that in a super crowded space, and that's just a part of the market that's incredibly crowded. You've got EMRs that are trying to build their own. You've got, separate companies that are trying to build their own, and we're building integrations between the two. And then lastly for us is we see it as a big space that the difference between just documenting and summarizing your patient interaction versus like actually trying to overlay some AI recommendations or AI making a recommendation on that, it just isn't there yet. Like, it's great for a recording tool, but making the next step and making it actionable, there's just a lot of work to be done in that space.
I've been surprised how many offices we've talked to that aren't super happy with their Scribe. They're sort of fine with it, thinking about switching, but not super happy with it. And it's just, I think like Andrew's saying, it's sort of a commodity getting a race to the bottom, but also like not great at the same time. So it's kind of interesting to see that. I think Evelyn thought, hey, this is like the lowest hanging fruit to put some AI into healthcare. Is just like, hey, we can transcribe these conversations now. And it's working out fine, but it's a competitive industry. I think it would split our focus. So we really want to focus, like Andrew was saying, on that intake phase, really nail that and worry less about the middle and back end.
That brings up another question. With all of these new tools coming out and clinics, healthcare facilities adopting them, one thing I've heard from the end user is they just don't want to have a million different logins. And I know you kind of hit on that briefly with docology, wanting to just kind of warp with your existing workflow. Can you talk about the importance of that? And do you think that's going to be something that impacts these startup AI companies as well?
Yeah. I think it varies by practice and the way that that the workflow exists today. But we do see, and probably one of the most important things is we're physicians and the nurses and everybody that works within a practice, they have to spend their time in the electronic medical record. That is the system of record, and that is going to be there, and that's not going anywhere. So instead of trying to sit on the outside of that and say, I'm going to sit over here and give you another login and give you another place to go, it's going to make you more efficient, but it's still going to require you to log into another system, do another multi-factor authentication, log in. You're in the middle of a busy workday and you don't remember if you signed up on Authy or text messages or whatever authentication tool you used. So how do we sit within the workflow? And so at Docology, what we've done is say, all right, we'll take the documents that come in from multiple different sources. So whether they come in from a fax, they come in from an email, or they come in from an EMR, and then we work on ingesting that, generating our summary, having our timeline, have all the pieces that are a part of it, and then just pushing it back into the EMR. And if you need to come back into Docology, there's some functionality and things that you can do within Docology that is helpful, but that's maybe a use case 10 to 20% of the time. We see by and large, we want people to spend their time inside the EMR because that's where you're already spending your time. And so let's sit alongside the workflow versus asking you to find a new part of the workflow.
One thing that's been really interesting is going to all these different providers and finding out how vastly different all their workflows are. And all of them have their sort of own systems. They coalesce around some certain things, but some are just like totally paper, right? They're only a paper thing and everyone's pushing paper around. Some are getting ingested directly into their EMRs and then they have to do some post-processing on it. But it really like runs the gamut in terms of how this paper comes into their system or comes into their office and eventually ends up in their EMR. And it's been fun. Just like thinking about that technical challenge of how do we integrate with these EMRs? How do we make it easy for them without changing too much of what they're already doing?